Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I just have, is this Kathy Foster? You're here?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This is Kathy. We have your address.
Yeah.
I just want to mark you down for the attendance. Thank you. Don, can we get your address for the attendance record? You'll have to. Yeah. Go ahead. I can't hear you, so you'll have to maybe type it in the chat, please. Okay, David, go ahead.
I call this Board of Health meeting to order at 4:11 p.m. I am going to read a statement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on a number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town of Adams Board of Health is being conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Attending remotely are members Dr. Peter Hoyt and Dr. Laura Grandchamp, and myself, Dr. David Rhodes, attending from Town Hall as chair of the Board of Health. We have posted today's agenda, which included the call-in information for today's meeting. Despite our best efforts, if we are not able to provide for real-time access for the public to participate in today's meeting, a recording of this meeting will be made available. As we are participating remotely, please note that all votes taken during this meeting will be by a roll call vote. I will state the Board of Health member's name and ask for their vote for each vote necessary today. Now, I also mentioned recording, so this meeting is recording, and I do see the recording button. If you confirm, Pete, you are recording it?
Yes, it is recording.
Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yeah. So first on the agenda is approval of minutes. I have not received minutes for either May 20 or June 3rd.
Yeah, I didn't get any either through email.
Okay, so maybe I should ask Ed, because we are getting behind on our minutes. How much of a problem is this?
Well, it's it's problematic because there are time limits by which you're supposed to gather together your minutes and have them approved. So I think you need to get moving on this as soon as possible.
Okay, I will encourage. We do have draft minutes, I think, from one of the meetings, and just a recording from another. So I will follow up with Pam tomorrow. Okay.
That's good. Yeah, do it as soon as you can, please.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? Hearing none, I will move on. Public hearing. We do not have a public hearing scheduled at this time. So Given that we have Kathy Foster here, may I call for a motion to move her item, open meeting law complaint, up to the next agenda item?
So moved.
Second? Oh, Laura is muted, but I saw her say second. Is there any discussion about this? All right. Your vote, Pete?
Yes.
Your vote,
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And my vote, Dave, is also yes. So motion passes unanimously. I believe I should go to Ed to start the agenda item, please.
Okay, so the board received an open meeting law complaint presented by Ms. Foster. I sent you individually copies of the complaint and copies of the attachments to the complaint, which I hope you all have. And I also gave you a proposed response to the complaint as well. Now, the board, why we're bringing it up today is the open meeting law itself. The Attorney General's regulations in particular require that the board have a meeting concerning the complaint. You don't really have to have much detailed discussion about it, but of course, you know, I will tell you what the complaints are and what my response is. And what is typically done is the board would refer this complaint to me for response, and I would file a response with giving Ms. Foster the original and sending a copy to the Attorney General's office. And just by way of a little bit more background to this, the open meeting law requires that you have this type of meeting within 14 days, business days of the complaint being filed. And because of the concurrence of the complaint with the expiration of time by which you could have had this heard at the June meeting, there wasn't sufficient time to put it on the agenda for the June meeting. It could not be acted on within 14 business days unless you schedule a separate meeting prior to today's meeting. The law requires that I ask the Attorney General's office for an extension, and they did grant us an extension to tonight to have this meeting. And they have also asked that a response to the complaint be sent to them and Ms. Foster by no later than tomorrow, which I'm prepared to do. So with that as a background, let me just tell you what the complaint alleges. There are two separate complaints. The first one alleges intentional violations of the open meeting laws were committed in a serial manner as evidenced by the attached emails. And the Board of Health Chairman Peter Hoyt was absent on the date of my March 4, 2020 hearing. In anticipation of resuming the hearing on May 6, 2020, Town Administrator Jay Green, JD, facilitated unlawful deliberations when he told Building Commissioner Jerry Garner and Health Code Enforcement Officer Mark Blaisdell to, quote, bring Pete, Board of Health Chair absent from hearing, up to speed on the Foster matter, the context of the violations, possible remedy, and her refusal to comply and procedural posture of the appeal, end of quote. Again, on May 4, 2020, Code Enforcement Officer Blaisdell sent an email to the full Board of Health and laid out his arguments outside of a public hearing. When my appeal was eventually rescheduled to be heard in its entirety on May 20, 2020, Chairman Hoyt and the rest of the board had already been tainted by private conversations from the above-mentioned parties. So in response to that, I indicated that nothing in the open meeting law prevents board members from receiving emails in preparation for a hearing. Although Mr. Blaisdell's email to the full board could have invited deliberations by way of email, none took place. As the Attorney General's open meeting law guide indicates, distribution of a meeting agenda, scheduling or procedural information, or reports or documents that may be discussed at a meeting is often helpful to public body members when preparing for upcoming meetings. These types of communications generally will not constitute deliberation, provided that when these materials are distributed, no member of the public body expresses an opinion on matters within the body's jurisdiction. So in this case, no member of the board provided an opinion other than at the meeting itself. Therefore, I concluded no violation of the open meeting law occurred by reason of this. The second complaint alleged that I was the subject of a hearing that was scheduled through remote access on May 6, 2020. My audio was muted for most of the hearing until the Board of Health wanted to hear what my defense. I was unable to object to testimony because of this, but the other party was not similarly muted. This was a violation that all persons present be clearly audible to each other, and it cites a CMR regulation. My response was, as you were informed at the outset of the meeting was presented using the Zoom app. This is permissible as an exception to the physical presence requirement of MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, pursuant to Governor Baker's Executive Order of March 12, 2020. As you were the subject of the hearing, you were allowed to participate remotely. No violation of 940 CMR 29.10 parentheses 4 parentheses A occurred because all parties were clearly audible to each other. Although you may have been muted in order to hear from another witness, you were afforded numerous opportunities to present your side of the case. Indeed, you did make objections and you did present a statement of your defense, which was considered by the board during their deliberations. Therefore, no violation occurred in this instance. And that's the conclusion of my letter to Ms. Foster. Do you have any questions of me or any comments or anything like that?
I don't. Pete, Laura?
No.
No.
All right, so with that in mind, my intention is to send that letter either tonight or tomorrow morning. I'll send that to the Attorney General's office, and Ms. Foster will get the original sent to her. I think I have her email address, and I'll send it to her that way as well as hard copy.
Do we need to vote on this?
I think if you could have a motion directing me to respond to the complaints in the fashion that I've described to you, I would appreciate that.
So moved.
Second.
A discussion. I would just like to point out, I believe Mr. Blaisdell has been asked to provide the board with a copy of hearing guidelines, and that has not, to my awareness, happened yet. I looked through some of the training materials I had, and I did not find anything there about how a meeting, an appeal hearing should occur. So there's nothing written down, and I had requested that there be such written guidelines, not only for us here and now, but for future board members, because I did feel as though a lack of understanding of how to run an appeal hearing led to a lot of the issues that are on the table now.
Well, if I could respond to that, I know you have a motion in front of you, but there's no real guidelines that are set forth on how to run a meeting like this, except if you look at case law as well as the statutes. There's a section of the general laws called the Administrative Procedure Act, which governs all sorts of actions in front of any administrative agency, whether they be state or local administrative agencies. And in those particular laws, they provide to you what the standards are. For example, what's the standard of review? What's the value of certain evidence that you have? Can you consider hearsay evidence? Things of that nature. And if you want, I can try to get you something regarding that, kind of a summary, rather than have you keep referring to the Administrative Procedure Act. If that's something you'd like to do, I might be a little bit more attuned to that than Mark might be.
I believe I have I believe I do have a copy of, Assistant Attorney General had compiled this several years ago, and
Mhm.
it has, as you said, what constitutes evidence, so on and so forth. And so if that is the 79-page document, if that's the one that you feel is authoritative in situations like this, then I will say thank you.
Yeah, I think that it's helpful. I haven't looked at that particular document and whether it's up to date, but I would assume this, the rules have not changed probably in the last 30 years with respect to, the value of certain evidence, hearsay evidence, the burden of proof, all those kind of things that you need to evaluate when you're hearing an appeal or having any type of hearing in front of you to determine what your decision is going to be based on. So I think that would be a good guide to start with.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
May I ask a question?
No, I don't think so at this point, because we are, this is a board vote. I'm sorry, Ms. Foster, but we can, after we take the vote, we will ask Attorney St. John if how to proceed. So, Pete,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
and Dave, I also say aye to having Attorney St. John submit the letter on our behalf. Thank you. Is there Ed, can there be further public comment here, or should we deal with that in a separate forum?
Well, I think you can ask the other board members. I mean, there was an opportunity for public comment. I noticed that Ms. Foster was muted, and maybe she tried to comment at that time and was unable to mute at that time. My suggestion would be just to reopen public comment to allow her to ask that question, but nothing further.
Right, I would agree to limit it to, say, 5 minutes, and if we need further action, we will take care of that at a future meeting. So, Pete, can you unmute Ms. Foster? And
I
I
she
don't
can
need,
do it herself. I
don't
can't unmute her.
that's that new Zoom, correct? So, go ahead.
I don't need to say anything.
Well, thank you, and thank you. Then I think this agenda item is finished, and we can move back to the meeting agenda. Going to, well, the next item is Code Enforcement Officer Report. I have not heard anything from Mark other than that he might have something for the agenda, but then he didn't. So I was hoping that we would be able to catch up with how our code enforcement officer is faring, and any suggestions about how we can proceed here.
I guess just, send him an email and ask him, maybe send us the information, or, like he usually does, provide a report, or, just see if he's available for the next meeting.
Because I mean, I know I've had a couple complaints which I passed on to Jerry and Mark, one of which I know was followed up on, because I spoke to the this person at the store. The other has not been addressed, at least. The request was regarding an unkempt lawn, and the lawn is still unkempt. It's been several weeks. So it could be in process. I mean, if it is, it is, but I just wanted to follow up. So I will email him separately, both regarding appearance at a meeting as well as the particular case that I mentioned. Okay, then moving on. Hauler regulations, I apologize. I have not completed my process here, so I would ask that we will continue this until next meeting, hopefully August. The next old business item is capping tobacco permits. So we have a regulation in front of us, and Pete had circulated it. The 2 points I believe that were clarified, one is that we are actually adding amendments to list approved certification, tobacco clerk certification programs. And the other, I think, was just a clarification regarding business suspension if a clerk infracts the new tobacco law, and we just acknowledged that the suspension of business would be discretionary on our part. The fine is mandatory. Was there anything else?
Yeah, David, I think we added just a little section under the 40R piece.
40R.
Just, if applicable or something like that.
Right. When I went back over it, I noticed that we had taken out the blunt wrap ban. And so I just wanted to revisit that. And I know Mark, so it's too bad he's not here. I know Mark was very eager to get rid of that. And I myself was not so eager, largely because it is nicotine. And so if somebody wants to fill it with marijuana, my thought was why give someone a different toxin to take, and depending on how you consider the marijuana, why would we want to allow consumption of tobacco product? And so I felt that keeping that ban, sense from you, Pete and Laura. Any thoughts?
I don't remember even what section that was under. I don't have the original. Do you have the original statement?
I think I could probably find it fairly quickly.
It is in the definitions.
It
And I did notice that it's still in the definition, even though it doesn't appear anymore in the document since we eliminated that section.
Right.
But I didn't mention it because I figured we'd just leave it in there. But that is a good point that if we do put that back in, then obviously the definition should stay. But if it's eliminated and stays as is, do we just eliminate that definition?
So yeah, I did talk to Jim Willis about it, and of course the big issue here is that menthol and flavors are disallowed And so he felt that it basically didn't matter so much because there was not this attraction of getting the flavors. So, I mean, I feel like, yeah, we can leave it out and not, so I'm fine just voting on the final draft as it was revised by Pete.
Yeah, I can't find that section.
Yeah, I lost it too. I went back to like,
I have a paper copy, but I don't know if it's the original one. I'm flipping through it right now. But I seem to recall that there was something with that Mark had suggested that we eliminate that because of the cigar bar, possibly.
no, I think he was, I
Am I
think,
right with that or no?
I think he was, he suggested that people like to fill them with marijuana as opposed to rolling a joint or smoking out of a pipe. And so he felt that if we removed our blunt wrap ban, then marijuana smokers would flock to Adams to get, it would be a business boom. I'm not so sure that's really going to be the case. And I don't think this is something that I really want to talk about anymore. Just say it's okay. Let's just go with what we have.
I'm fine. I think I think it's quite good the way it is. I think we can stop editing it.
Yes. All right then. May I have a motion to consider Pete's latest revision as our final draft to be presented to the public for a public hearing at our next meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Sorry, I have quite a delay.
You want the motion is that we accept our new tobacco regulations at the final draft as Pete revised from our last meeting to be presented to the public for public hearing and action at our next Board of Health meeting.
Second.
And so just as a matter of discussion, that means that, we will write up a public notice, publish it in the Eagle, and make this draft available to people probably through our website or other means. And Jim Willis will help us walk through that process. So motion on the table to accept Pete's draft. Pete, what do you say?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
Dave? Yes. So the motion passes unanimously. We have a final draft. And so on to our next, that will come up on our next meeting. COVID-19 update. I mean, I don't know really what to say here. I think we've all been getting the information. I would just say I was fairly thrilled to see that yesterday the state reported no new deaths for the first time in like whenever, a long time. I know that's, it's been going up and down. It's not going to stay that way, but it was certainly a very good sign. And also wanted to say how much I appreciated the work that Mark has been doing in terms of facilitating the reopening. Anything else that anybody would like to mention at this time?
No, I have nothing.
I think we're all getting sick and tired of this, but I do appreciate all the efforts and our town, Berkshire County, that staying safe. I guess I did want to add that phone conference the other day, you know, that there was the Baker opened up testing to attendees at large gatherings. And I think in Berkshire County, there were either 250 or 500 additional tests on large gathering attendees, and they were all negative. So that's pretty thrilling. And the word is that some of the new cases that are coming in are people who have traveled out of state or are coming to Berkshire County from out of state. And so that's the testing and contact tracing is going to be very important in keeping Berkshire County safe. So thank you. I have here other old business, and I don't know if this was the point where Ed wanted to make a mention about something that was, if we forgot something on the agenda, could we bring it up here, or should I not put other old business question? And you're muted, Ed.
So I had an issue with the two agenda items, David, other old business and other new business. I mean, that's nice in a, you know, if you had a private meeting with people to put that on there, but the open meeting law requires that if you're going to be discussing items that you know about or reasonably should know about 48 hours in advance, they have to go on to that. If it's an emergency matter, like if COVID-19 is an example of that something just came up today and you've got to discuss it at your meeting, then you don't have to be so concerned about the requirement of posting on the agenda. So that item under old business, about other old business and other new business, please don't do that in the future. You know, you can only discuss those things unless it's an emergency, a real emergency. You can only discuss those things that you have on the agenda itself.
So the one exception I would suggest, and I don't know whether you noticed or I read it in the open meeting, is that we can submit an amended agenda. Does that have to be 48 hours ahead of time?
No, it doesn't. If you post the original agenda 48 hours prior and an amendment is necessary, you're allowed to do it, you know, right up to the meeting, but you have to file the amended agenda and get it posted. You can't just walk into the meeting with an amended agenda and say, folks, I just amended it. It also has to be posted, but not within 48 hours.
And the one exception I think I might raise is, say we're asked by Berkshire County Board of Health Association to sign on to a letter in support of legislation or something like that, that would have to be done. You know, we get it like the day of the meeting, bring it up, we read the letter. It doesn't impact regulations here in Adams. Would that be an allowable exception to?
No, again, if you get it on the day of the meeting, let's say that on the meeting date, you guys have a discussion about something, we need to have a discussion about something. What you have to do is you have to just say, we'll put this on the next agenda. There's nothing to prohibit you from having another meeting before the first of the month in August, you know.
Right.
If you saw something like, you know, it's important we get this letter signed within the next week or two, there's nothing that prevents you from having a meeting, and maybe that's your only agenda item. I don't mean to put any inconvenience on you, but I don't want to have you running into these issues about open meeting law violations. Unfortunately, that's one that you really have to postpone to another date,
Right,
to
and-
another meeting date.
Thank you. And certainly we would only need two out of the three of us to be there. So we wouldn't need so it would be limited inconvenience. So, okay, thank you. Got it.
Okay.
And then new business, appropriation of funds for Berkshire BNA 2020 to 2021 contract for public health nursing. Now, we've been back and forth around on this, and the last I heard, Mary Beverly said that we had the funds. They had been appropriated because I believe the Board of Selectmen had gotten the July budget approved already on the month by month. And that Pam was able to pay it. Nevertheless, I do feel it would be useful if we did vote to appropriate the money to pay for our upcoming year annual contract. And does that make sense?
No, I'm confused, David. You said that the money was there, so it hasn't been paid yet, or?
My thought from Pam is that she heard from Mary that she could pay it.
Okay.
And so, okay. So what Pam said, since our annual town meeting was postponed this year, and generally our BNA yearly bill would be signed shortly thereafter by Mary Beverly, Jay Green, and Ed St. John, I communicated with Mary this morning, and she stated the money was appropriated and that it was okay for me now to forward the contract to her office for the required signatures. When this has been completed, when this has been completed, I will pay the yearly bill of $2,250. I just wanted you all to receive the latest update. Okay, so the contract is in the pipeline.
David, you're cutting out.
I am. Okay. Maybe I'll pull. Is this better? So what Mary Beverly said was that the money is available and the contract just needs the signatures. So it's Jay, Mary, Ed, and I'm trying to think if there's one other person, but they need to sign before we pay the contract.
They've been signed, David.
So, and okay, so then Pam is ready. So may we just appropriate the funds? Because I think that's what we're supposed to do, right? So do I have a motion that we authorize Pam to pay $2,250 to Berkshire BNA for our 2020 to 2021 public health nursing contract?
No moved.
Second.
Do we need a discussion?
No, I think they did it. Nancy helped us out quite a bit over the last couple of months, so.
I know, it was, and thank goodness she's gone quite silent. I think she's down in South County taking care of business, but.
Yeah.
So, Pete, how do you vote?
Yes.
Laura?
Yes.
And Dave says yes, so this passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And going back to the new business, we already dealt with open meeting law complaint, and I am crossing off other new business question mark. The only thing remaining here, local county updates. I have been meeting with the Public Health Alliance remotely, just getting updates from how things are going. We seem to be fairly lucky in Adams. Part of our luck is that we don't have any summer camps. That is one of the hugest issues across the county. And what else is on the, so any other updates from Laura, Pete?
No, nothing.
Anything for the
No.
good of the order?
No, I have nothing.
I don't have anything.
And I don't have any upcoming events other than that. Yeah, I don't have any upcoming events other than our standard weekly calls from DPH and Board of Health Association, so on and so forth. And I think you all are getting the emails. And the only mail I remember is the specialty minerals third-party inspection report. Everything seems in order there. And so I guess we're waiting until things open up and they can get back to their landfill situation. When do you want to meet next?
I'm open, Laura.
I am open as well.
So I have an August 5th and a September 2nd. If it's,
Be gone on September 2nd.
because I think if it's September 2nd, that means that Labor Day is like the 7th.
I have, mm,
Shall we meet 2 days after Labor Day then?
I have to check my calendar. I can't,
Yeah,
Do
can we hold off on September?
Yeah, fair enough. Let's do that.
Laura, is that okay with you?
yeah, that would be better for me if we, that August.
Okay, and so I'll leave
I-
that.
If we do September, I would rather do it like the second week, because that Wednesday after Labor Day is going to be my first day back to school, and it's going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah. So you're actually thinking of bumping it to the 16th of September.
Yes, if that's okay, or we can just wait.
Yeah, okay.
Joel.
Well, we have options. So August 5th is chisel and stone. And do I have a motion to adjourn?
Just again, clarification. So we're definitely going to meet August 5th, 4 o'clock.
Right,
And then September, we're going to schedule that in our August
in
meeting.
August, right.
Laura, is that okay with your schedule?
That is actually fine with my schedule. Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Laura, second, and no discussion. Pete, what say you?
Yes.
Laura, what say you?
Yes.
Dave says yes. Thank you all. And
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
so you are going to
Thanks,
close-
Ed.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
Yeah. so you shut down the meeting, right?
Yep. I got it. Thanks, Dave.
You're welcome.
Thanks.